believed that I could navigate anything I wanted to navigate because I was in a girls' school. There wasn't boys around that we needed to compete with or that were probably outshining all the girls because they were boys. Yeah.
I mean, I feel as if we all have, they'll wake up. My sound guys will wake up. I feel as if we all have, that shared experience of sort of that transitional phase in SA, and it's always interesting when we talk about these stories and how they've affected all of us, right? Because I can totally sort of relate when Bulen talks about being the first, the first of like 5-7 black kids to enter my primary school at grade 3. But also coming from a home that was interracial with my stepdad being white, and so being in a community of interracial parents, because all their friends were in interracial marriages and the protection around that. And similarly to Amanda, almost, when you have a conversation and you reflect, for instance, on those years, the later years of apartheid, people go, I'm in my early 40s, and people go, how do you not have a recall? And I go, because my circumstances were also slightly different. Because my mom was in an interracial marriage with interracial married and coupled friends, my environment was protected from that, consciously so. And so I didn't really get to experience sort of apartheid per se in that sense, but I got to, come to being of a young kid in transition and understanding what that meant when you're moving in particular spaces, and in particular communities, and some felt more normal and others not so much. There was a discomfort. But it's been a very interesting 30 years, I think, as we sort of go down this journey, because here's the other thing that I'd love to bring into, and I was doing some reading, and according to the UN, right, there is an established and growing evidence that women in leadership positions, particularly in political leadership positions, who are in the position to make decisions that really impact and improve the social well-being of not just themselves, their communities, but also of the globe, right? And I wonder, as women in leadership, are we occupying enough of those spaces? Because yes, on the one hand, there's attraction and an inroad that has been made, but the other big part of the conversation is we're still very far from where we need to be. I always throw it to you, Angie.
Bridget, look, I do agree. From an economic standpoint, I think we have a lot to do in terms of growing women in corporate leadership roles. But for me, I think the difference comes in the ability of women to lead in their social circles. And that starts at home. You're not just a mother, you're not just a wife, you actually are the core. You're the leader in that household. And you shape the way the family turns out. I mean, I've got 2 sons, and both from a very young age have always learned to respect women. My eldest is married, and it's been very clear, your wife is your companion. And so she starts to lead the household. So I think the role we play as women in homes and as leaders is an important one. Certainly, like I said, in the economic space, we have a lot to do in terms of growing and getting enough women onto boards, enough women into the C-suite. It's something we do passionately at Duke Corporate Education, making sure we build that women leadership capability for the next. And I'll talk about a program that we're running specifically to do that, maybe a little later on. But I think also the role that women play in their social circles, in their communities, helping other women rise along with them. Quite often you see women get together and they set up these little businesses or this little environments of, sewing clothes together for the school or whatever it is. So I do believe that women have taken a more prominent role post-democracy in terms of growing collectively and helping each other along. We quite often hear these concepts of lift as you rise, pay it forward. Certainly believe that women are doing that consciously, and perhaps that's what's setting us apart from men in the sense that because we're consciously able to do it, we're seeing that level of growth in communities. So,
and just to add to that, within the education space, Also, there has been an improvement where women are taking more leadership roles. But what's interesting about it is within the educational space, the majority, if you look at the sector as a whole, more than 50% is women, right? But so few of them are in those positions. And this is within higher education and basic education, where the women are the workforce, basically, while as the men are decision makers in this case. However, like Angie was saying, it is really changing, although more needs to happen within this space. And I think what we fail to recognize and to highlight is, especially for women and girls, is that they get into this leadership role very early in their lives. Yeah. I remember being in opportunities within my home where I was challenging the status quo about certain practices. And my parents were able to support some of my doing. And then there was also there were some that they were not able to. And at that time, it was probably because of what they're exposed to, right? That this is too soon, this change is just too soon. This one we can compromise. But my parents really both were in that space. And I think that's what also just gave me the idea that, wait, you can lead. You could tell people, you can recognize a problem, come up with a solution. And I grew up in that space and thankfully recognized that as I grew up until where I am now, that it is something that is accessible to me. So I think that with the girls at home, they have these skills, but they don't understand that they can apply it to other sectors outside of their household. Innately, we grow into leadership.
Oh, I like that. Innately, we grow into leadership, because sometimes it seems daunting, right, to sort of take up the baton, to put your hand up, to come out from being the wallflower. You are in a financial space. And I know from the outside looking in, Amanda, that is very much a male-dominated space. And so how has the journey been for you as a woman leader in those particular sectors?
I love telling good stories.
We love hearing them.
So for the most part, I've been led by men. And I've had absolutely great men leaders who really give you the space to navigate yourself, right? In saying that, that is very true. It is still a male-dominated industry and a male-dominated profession. However, I do want to say, to your point, Angie, around it even starts at home, in your place of work, before it then extends out. I've seen a lot of that. And we need to ensure that even the men are supporting those kind of initiatives. So some of those that I've personally seen, so part of, the work that I do within the business is funding Black independent financial advisor businesses. Some of those are women-led. Do we need more of them? Absolutely we do. Are we doing something about it? You bet I am. I'm definitely trying my best to do that. But in addition to that, to what you were talking about earlier, Pulling, around being like people really looking up to certain people and you not finding the kind of women you wanted to be inspired by. We are also involved in a mentorship program together with UJ, Honors in Financial Planning, because we do believe that even back there, they need to know that leading women in financial services do actually exist. And what does it look like to lead in that space? Even if they're young and they're not ready to, they're yet to start their careers, but they know it's actually not a far-fetched picture and that it is aspirational, but you can definitely get it. So, yeah.
Listen, ladies, our conversation is only beginning. We're going to come back on the other side and we'll continue because I also want to find out, what leadership looks like for women in 2024 and moving forward, and perhaps even what the role of women in society is moving into the future. It's 1:30. It's time for us to get into the headline news.
Bridge, and with the news headlines, good afternoon. The latest Auditor General's report states that all Free State municipalities have not received clean audits. President Cyril Ramaphosa has requested a detailed report and briefing from Justice Minister Thembi Simelane following corruption allegations leveled against her. And the Limpopo Health Department has sent a team of healthcare professionals to administer bilharzia treatment to 142 pupils from Malwandla Primary in Tzaneen. A full news update follows at 2.
Think bigger than just a banking partner. Think a team of specialized experts supporting you to make better financial decisions to enable your growth aspirations. Think a strategic partnership providing indispensable advice to help you make the right moves. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. For more information, visit nedbank.co.za. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider.
Ashupol is over 110 years old and was born out of the desire to serve South Africans who work hard to build this country from the ground up. With over 5 million lives covered and named Best Life Insurer by Forbes, Ashupol is here for you today and will be there for your family tomorrow. SMS serve to 44366 and we'll call you back. Ashupol is an insurer licensed to conduct life insurance business, an authorized financial services provider. FSP 53. T's and C's to apply.
In August, we celebrate our amazing women farmers who nourish and clothe our nation.
Farmers and researchers and academia can work closely.
Catch Living Land on Sundays at 11 a.m. on SABC2.
At Specsavers, we're committed to offering affordable and professional eye care. That's why we're offering 1,500 Rand worth of savings with our winter promotion. Get a free frame up to the value of 1,500 Rand or use the 1,500 Rand on one of our leading lens enhancements. To qualify, simply purchase a comprehensive eye examination and prescription frame and lenses. Book online or call your nearest store today. Specsavers, for affordable eye care and a whole lot more. T's and C's apply.
Catch me, Bonang Mateba, on a fresh reality series that showcases the business behind being a business. Get to experience an intimate look at my life with family, personal growth, and my mission to uplift young women. Jet with me as we prepare to crown a lucky chaser. Be grounded, be entertained, and be dazzled. Monday, 6 p.m. on S3, it's a date with you and B. Catch Bedazzled by Bonang on S3 every Monday at 6 p.m.
So Usharon officing was telling me the way drip is so expensive these days. She's now waiting for her old clothes to come back into fashion. I say, Joza, while you're waiting, why not let your money do the things in a Nedbank Just Invest account where you can get your money after 24 hours notice? Oganchani, voiceman.
In Jalo, Mabel, you can earn up to 8.75% interest. Anyone can open an investment account via the Money app in under 2 minutes. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. Promo rates apply.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. It's Elimination Week and the bottom 6 must bake their ultimate cookie and milkshake pairing. It's a match made in heaven, but will they perfect their flavor combinations under pressure? Take part in the weekly viewers competition and stand a chance of winning a classic stand mixer to the value of 10,000 Rand. That's the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7. Repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
It is the full circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM as we wrap up what has been a great ladies' month. And I wonder what I'm basing that on. And perhaps because I live in SA, maybe I'm basing it on the fact that we didn't have an onslaught of, terrifying headlines this year, maybe. There seemed to be a little bit of reprieve, even though our stats say differently, obviously. But I don't know. I guess I'm just basing it on just those perceptions, right? Because as I said it, I thought, well, how do we gauge as South African ladies if we've had a good women's month? Like, what metric are we using in this society to know whether or not women are good?
I think for me, it is the stories that are being shared just gives you or highlight what people are doing in their respective spaces. I mean, we sit here because of the amazing women of 1956 that were like, enough is enough, we cannot. So all of us are beneficiaries of such a bold movement or decision, let me say, to say we will do this because we understand the value we bring. So understanding the value you bring as a woman, I think, is so critical. I'll give you an example of a fellow researcher who was asked, she was asked to do work for some company or for an individual. And they asked her, what's your prize? And she says, in that moment, I was stuck. I did not know what to say. But what that showed her, she says, was the fact that actually I do have value. Actually, I must know what my value is. And she says to me, that was the last time somebody asked me what my value is and I did not know, right? So I think it is sharing these stories around what is happening among women within our country, within different sectors and spaces, that we are able to see what the impact is. And it's obvious that this is done throughout the year where women are highlighted. But it's also nice to have a time where the spotlight is specifically on this, just because of the background of women being disadvantaged severely within their different sectors.
I think we're making inroads as women. If you look in the public sector, I mean, you know, we have a deputy governor. I think 2 of them that are women. If you start to look in the private sector, women have certainly made taken up their spaces. But for me, what's more important is that we're in a space where women aren't growing and climbing alone. It's not about me and my career moves any longer. It's about us women as a collective helping each other along. It's also about us women not saying we want to replace men, but we want to grow the economies and create the sustainability so that we can take our equal place amongst men, both in the corporate environment as well as in the social environment, and I think that's what's important. So I'm very proud of what women have achieved for the last 30 years. And I think I'm even super proud of where we're going, you know, and the kind of interventions we're doing. So I'll just share very quickly what we're doing at Do Corporate Education. So we've been blessed to have worked with the International Women's Forum as South Africa as a partner, and the African Women Chartered Accountants as key partners. And we've been able to source funding to help and skill and improve the lives of 1,000 women leaders. And I think if you can make the difference to 1,000 women leaders, they'll make a difference to 1,000 households, and they'll make a difference to 1,000 communities. So we've been very blessed to be able to get that program up and running. We're already seeing the impact of that program. And almost every single one of our participants is always around, how am I lifting as I rise? How am I paying it forward? How am I making that difference that is required for us women collectively to grow into the future? And then last week, we held an amazing conference. It was titled Humanizing Leadership in the AI World. And we've been in celebration of Women's Month, and we've paid specific attention to what does this new environment as we move into AI mean for women leaders? And how do we overcome the challenges and collectively grow into that space as well as a collective? So I think like I said, I'm pretty proud of where we are as women, given, where I come from, what I experienced before 1994. But Amanda, maybe you want to add?
Yeah, I think as a metric, like what you were asking earlier, Bridget, I've recently started getting exposed, I guess, and involved in myself being a mentor for the very first time, right? And it feels good to know that the younger ones are looking out for people that can really just help them navigate. And then I've already spoken about the mentorship program. By the way, I run together with Didi an organization called the Lean In Circle for Women in Financial Planning. And some of those are currently beneficiaries of your Duke program, actually. But I'll let them come back someday and tell the story. But we've got about 70-odd women, young women in the financial planning profession that are definitely ready to take up spaces. And I think what's great about the conversations that are happening there is everyone is wanting to be a mentor, or everyone is really, really thinking around, how do I, in my area of impact, do something similar to what we doing as a circle within financial planning? So I honestly think people are sitting back saying, I also want to be involved in more, not only in what happens in my organization or within, the circle that I am officially a part of, but everywhere else as well, where I can actually contribute.
I love, yes, go ahead, Blaine.
I just wanted to add to what Amanda was saying, because at UP we've got a motto, Make Today Matter, and how that translates into what we do on a daily basis at Sayenza is that we know that we only have that one opportunity to add value, to spark interest and curiosity into something, to showcase, to change the perspective of a girl child that comes through our doors. So we then know the value that we have to add to anybody who's walking through that. The idea that we have to make today matter translates in how we show up every day for the people that walk through, because we understand that it takes that one moment to open up, to expose somebody, but to open and change their perspective about what is possible to them by a black woman standing there and addressing them, speaking about a particular thing. It's possible. A woman in physics, a woman in plant pathology, doesn't matter what the diverse fields are, but that moment matters for everybody that we engage with.
As you talk about just sort of realizing that it's possible, I just had this epiphany myself in my 40 plus of years. Just last week, I was at a gathering similar to this where women convened over art and conversation. And an incredible woman in the art space who, 3 decades of marketing and comms executive, in 2016 decided this thing that I call art, that has been a curiosity for all these years and a passion, and now I've got insight and information and experience. It's now pushing me in a different direction, and left top executive position in comms and marketing to build something from scratch. And as she stood there in her mid-50s telling the tale of letting go of the security of the 28th floor and everything that comes with it, because this thing had grown so much in her life that it was taking over. And talking about being 50 plus and going to London to study in a room filled with 18-year-old art students. And here you are, you almost the grandmother, going to do that and coming back. And I sat back and I thought, just to your spark interest and can lead to something that can be built into something beautiful. Personally, I felt seen in her journey, and I felt, what's the word? Not vindicated, but I don't know. The word just escaped me. But I looked at her and I thought, here's an example of a woman who was on a different path, and then somehow found herself here and had the courage and the bravery to pursue the passion and start again. And the questions that build as you transition and evolve as a woman in your career, and you move into different spaces and you start thinking, do I let go of this? Do I hold on to this? Do I explore this? What must happen? Here's someone saying, well, listen, I let go when the time was right. And look what has happened in my new chapter of life, right? And that brings me to the next. No, I'm not going anywhere if you're listening. I'm still going to be on the full circle. I'm just saying that we are evolving into other things. But it brings me to the other point of, which is where I was jumping off what Buleng was saying, the need to be seen in different spaces, right? And the need to see yourself. It's become such a social phrase, this, and I don't want to use the word representation, but to be seen and see yourself in other women, even if your journeys are not identical, but you're walking on parallel paths. There's lessons to be taken there. There's a cheat code to be shared there, intergenerationally and otherwise.
I want to say something to that. I did a talk about 2 weekends ago, and I mean, of the slides that I prepared, I keep thinking about probably the second last one, and it actually says an innovator's path is not a straight line, right? I know Puleng mentioned something about innovation, STEMmy, STEAMY. And you mentioned something, I guess, about the 28th floor. And I couldn't help but sit here and actually see that slide that says an innovator's journey or path is actually not a straight line. And I hope people can really sit back and think about that, because even to the story that you just shared now about the session that you were at, probably because it didn't have anything to do with media and radio, you wouldn't have otherwise thought to be there. And I think it's such a good encouragement and motivation to say, even to other women out there, and especially younger women, navigate any space that you think might be of interest to you, even if it actually has nothing to do with what you do in your daily job. Because I think sometimes we even limit our enormous creativity and that journey of an innovator, which is absolutely chaotic at times, but the things they are able to build out of that. And I guess now with artificial intelligence coming, I mean, when I finished that, I signed my own slide pack and I created an AI signature. Am I going to put that on like compliance documents? Well, I don't think I'll get away with it. But it was actually interesting to know I can do that. And it was really just me exploring and saying, well, I'm already on this journey of trying to figure out what can AI do for me? How can it help me be more efficient in my work so that I can go and sit at an art talk, even if I'm not interested, and learn something from the 55-year-old.
Listen, we'll invite you to an art talk one of these days, Amanda.
Please
and
do.
then dig into your pockets. Let's also talk about the role of women now in 2024. I mean, is it still the same as our mothers' generations, as our grandmothers' generations? Are we evolving with time? Is there still a straddling between the traditional and redefining the modernity of it all?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, I reflect on my home as a starting point. I recall my dad saying to me, you know, you're so career-driven, but always remember your traditions and where you come from. And when I had the opportunity to climb the corporate ladder and have the conversations with my family, it was like total support. You know, from parents, from hubby, from the kids. Like, you go for it, is what my son said. And that changes traditional value systems, right? Sometimes you go home and there is a warm meal to welcome you. So has the roles changed? Absolutely. I do believe. I think the ability to have open conversations with your families, with your communities, and to build that support that you need to get to your next has certainly changed the roles that we find ourselves as women. What's challenging, though, is as you start to go up the corporate ladder and the way you're perceived in boardrooms, that sometimes can make it difficult for you, especially when your voice is not loud, but your voice is solid. When you bring that level of solidity, of value, fact into the boardroom, and you're a lone voice. You're not the majority in the boardroom. That can be pretty challenging, I think, for women, and sometimes pretty draining. So, yeah, I do believe that we're climbing relatively well, but we still have a lot of role clarity as we move forward.
You know, and I want to come back and definitely get back on that, because you just reminded me of a friend of mine who's part of the LGBTQI+A community, and he often says, I'm exhausted of being an activist. I've been an activist since the day I could find words to articulate who I was. I'm tired. And I think women can resonate with that sentiment, right? And we'll come back and we'll jump back into that. Let's take a quick pause for an ad break, and then we'll be right back.
Discover a fragrance extravaganza at Dis-Chem this beauty fair for the most spectacular time to save. Get great offers on all fragrances for him and for her from brands like Jean Paul Gaultier, Mont Blanc, Issey Miyake, and DKNY. And look out for special offers and free gifts with purchase because we love to spoil you. Explore our wide range of fragrances with our knowledgeable consultants to help you make your selection. Go in-store or shop online for the best of beauty, now on until 15 September at Dis-Chem Pharmacies. Better beauty starts here.
Big ups to all the women of Africa Dzonga. Incredible characters in various fields. When you set your mind onto something, your winning mentality is difficult to defeat. On and off the field. Your excellence in the world of sport speaks volumes. You are the great inspiration to the nation. Happy Women's Month, courtesy of SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The SAFM University Debate Challenge is back. Join us for the 1-hour debate on This Week Today with Oliver Dixon from 6 to 7 p.m. on Friday, the 30th of August 2024 at the SABC in Bloemfontein. The University of the Free State will take on the Central University of Technology in what promises to be a nail-biting debate. The SAFM University Debate Challenge is an independent, non-partisan progressive initiative seeking to develop confident communicators, critical thinkers, and empowered global citizens. If you want to attend the debate, you can email info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Stand by, 5 seconds, live read.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Nelson Mandela Museum, Dr. Vuyani Gweki Mboy, will engage SAFM listeners on how the Nelson Mandela Museum is preserving, promoting, and protecting the legacy of Nelson Mandela. He'll further unpack the 2023-2024 audit outcome results. You can tune into the Talking Point and the National Pulse to hear about the latest developments within the museum and the upcoming Liberation Heritage Indaba.
FM.
It is the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM. And of course, we are live streaming our panel conversation today. You can catch it on all of our social media platforms. Wherever you are, we are as well. Joining me on the panel this afternoon is Angie Naidu, the Managing Director of Duke Corporate Education, Amanda John Ngube, who is a Business Development Strategies and Head of Black Distributors Trust for Old Mutual SA, as well as Puleng Tsi, who is the Manager at Scienza at the University of Pretoria. And of course, you know that Scienza is the oldest science center in South Africa. And I was just talking, as you were talking, Angie, about, as much as women occupy interesting spaces within boardrooms, there's also the sense of being alone, right? And just sort of surmising what you said, the sense of being alone and your voice having to fight to be heard in these spaces. That at times, if we're honest, from what I hear from peers, I guess even in my own journey in media and broadcasting, at times is often shushed and silenced, and you have to fight those you would think are supposed to even advocating for you to have the microphone and to have the spotlight on you. And I wonder what that does for a person, for a woman in that space, having to know that every time you walk into particular spaces or situations, you have to put your armor on because it's going to be a battle.
Yeah, speaking to that, Bridget, I think it will be tiring. I feel anybody who has to go into the battle every day when you go to work or whichever space that you operate in, always it's within the academic space. But I think also this is where institutional policies come in and practices that create conducive environments for everybody, that they are heard, they can contribute, they are valued. So that sits strategically within their policies, that to say, this is the kind of space we want our people to work in. Their experience of the UP brand, we want it to be this way and this way and this way. And you just don't talk about it because you want to have a uniform understanding of what we're thriving for. And so then the policies will speak to that and how people are heard, they're included, and the diversity also is brought into that equation. To say, my voice alone cannot be the voice, right? It has to be everybody else's voice.
You raised a very important point earlier around coaching and mentoring. And I think one of the important tools is to ensure that you can sustain yourself in the boardroom is exactly that. To make sure that you have those right coaches in front of you to lead you, behind you to kind of push you, and on the side of you to kind of hold you along when you're alone. So you don't, when you visualize yourself in the boardroom and you kind of choose the battles that you want to choose, you know that you're not alone there, that you do have support, you do have your women leaders and your colleagues and your friends kind of pushing you along and saying, you got this, girl. You can do this. For me, I think it's also important to know which of your battles you want to choose and which ones you want to let go. If somebody asks me to make a cup of tea, I'm not going to fight over it, Sometimes I'd say, I think you're quite capable of doing that yourself, and while you're at it, make me a cup too. It's the approach, I suppose. And for me, it's also very important is we don't see ourselves as separated from men, but rather see ourselves as a collective and maybe build that allyship. You spoke about that, Amanda, as well, is build your allyship so that you can grow. And very important, when vacancies arise, bring other women along with you, nominate them to sit on the board. It's something we don't do as women, I think, enough. I think we don't tell a colleague, hey, you know what, Puli, there's a vacancy, come apply, I'm going to motivate for you. I think it's something we need to build as a collective so that we build the strength of women in boardrooms. There's lots of programs that build those levels of capabilities. We were talking around the kind of skills, women need a different set of skills to be able to deal with this in C-suites, in boardrooms. And I think building those capabilities is extremely important to be able to succeed in those roles.
I just want to add, rather to share with the listeners, during the break, we were actually chatting, and I think, one of the things that came up was collaboration instead of competition. And I think, this Women's Month and going forward, that thing of going into battle, of course it needs to stop. It's going to take some time because for a very long time, people have been kind of looking out for themselves. And it's okay because a lot of things have been new, and that's fine. But I think now we are all slowly getting exposed to the fact that we can collaborate, we can share opportunities, we can advocate for each other and motivate for each other. So I think I really want to say to everyone that I think it's very important to know that we can still win together. Because if you win, I win. If my team wins, I win. If I win, the business wins. I think it's more of that collaborative thinking about everything and understanding what the bigger picture actually is.
Absolutely. Ladies, how quickly time flies when you're sitting having dynamic conversation, but we have to leave part one here. I thank you all so much for joining me, taking the time and coming all the way through to the national key point to be part of this conversation. Let's take a break for the news, and then when we come back on the other side of 2, we'll be joined by a whole different panel of dynamic ladies in leadership.
stories at 2 o'clock. No Free State municipality receives a clean audit, and the Pacific Islands back an Australian-funded policing plan. A very good afternoon. The latest Auditor General's report states that all Free State municipalities have not received clean audits. Most municipalities remain financially distressed with no financial recovery plans, while they have approved unfunded budgets which contributed to the unauthorized expenditure of 4.5 billion rand. The Maludia Profu municipality has failed to submit its financial statements on time.
Go, please.
Bridget!
Betuna Ntando.
Yes, ma'am.
Kalogu, you know you must play a line as a break point so that I could do the opening billboard for the news.
Hey, sorry. I thought you were gonna.
No, I can't just go from saying goodbye and then straight into the opening billboard. Especially when I can't even see you.
Sorry. So we'll come back with
the closing billboard.
Ntabi Singh, just make a note there on the log sheet, please.
All right, cool.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has requested a detailed report and briefing from Justice Minister Thembi Simelane following corruption allegations leveled against her. In a statement, the president says he has noted the reports with concern. Various media reports over the weekend linked the Justice Minister with money alleged to have been received improperly from VBS Bank. This was during her tenure as the mayor of Polokwane. It's alleged that at the time, the municipality unlawfully invested 349 million rand into the now defunct VBS. Now the president has called the minister for a brief on the matter. The Limpopo Health Department has sent a team of healthcare professionals to administer bilharzia treatment to 142 pupils from Malwandla Primary in Tzaneen. Last week, the department sent a mobile clinic to conduct tests at the school after teachers suspected that learners had contracted the disease. Provincial Health spokesperson Neil Shikwambana.
The suspicion from the parents came after they were notified by the teachers at school to say they see a lot of blood stains on the toilet seats because one of these symptoms of bilharzia is discharging blood-like stains after urinating or discharging your stool. So the teachers at school witnessed this in their bathrooms and alerted parents who then made contact with us.
The Weather Service has issued a warning to the public to be cautious of rough seas and high waves this afternoon. This will affect the coastline from Port Edward to Richards Bay in northern KZN. Weather forecaster Tandiwe Kumete.
Today, there is a chance of rain, 30% chance of rain for today over most parts of the province. With that being said, we are also expecting our waves to pick up quite significantly along the coast from Port Edward, proceeding all the way up until Richards Bay. Those waves are expected to start picking up from this afternoon and continue for the rest of the day up until tomorrow afternoon, which is Thursday afternoon.
And leaders from Pacific Island states have endorsed a regional policing plan funded by Australia. The announcement was made in Tonga at the Pacific Islands Forum Leaders Meeting. The plan is aimed at reducing China's growing security presence in that area. More from the BBC's Katie Watson.
This is a big victory for Australia, winning the support of regional leaders in an area where China's wanting to become a dominant power. The new Pacific Policing Initiative will be worth $271 million. It'll fund 4 police training centres across the region with a separate hub in Brisbane. A multi-country police force will also be created, with officers deployed to countries across the Pacific in the event of disasters and major events. Australia's said in the past there's no role for China in policing the region.
The top story at 2 o'clock, the latest Auditor General's report states that all Free State municipalities
Stand by.
received clean audit.
Our theft, accident and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by OUTsurance Essential. Get a quote today by SMSing car to 43187. Now, your car may be old, but driving without insurance is a risk every time you're on the road. So don't take the gamble. Outsurance Essential is affordable insurance for older cars, giving you up to 1 million rand liability cover and loads more. Plus, claims are paid in cash, so you can use your own panel beater. Outsurance Essential is priced for cars older than 5 years, valued at under 125,000 and not financed. SMS car to 43187 or call 0800 60,000 today. Outsurance is a licensed FSP and T's and C's do apply.
Hosna is John Dutton, a sixth-generation homesteader and devoted father. John controls the largest contiguous ranch in the United States, operating in a corrupt world where politicians are compromised by influential oil and lumber corporations and where land grabs make developers billions. Shifting alliances, unsolved murders, open wounds, and hard-earned respect puts Dutton's property in constant conflict with those it borders. An expanding town, an Indian reservation, and America's first national park. Channel your inner drama with Yellowstone, Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Every day, our children are exposed to relentless marketing of unhealthy foods where they live, learn, and play. This aggressive marketing of unhealthy foods to children can shape their eating habits and food preferences for the rest of their lives. I'm your host, Crystal Audison. Is big food stalking our children? Watch Chew on This on healer.org.
This Women's Month, celebrate the incredible strength, resilience, and achievements of women with our Empower Her Voice of Strength campaign. Join SAFM as we highlight inspiring stories, share valuable insights, and promote gender equality. Tune in for special segments, powerful interviews, and daily inspiration. Together, let's uplift and empower women everywhere. Be part of the movement. Hashtag Empower Her. Hashtag Voices of Strength.
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Stand by, stand by.
It is a coming together of two generations, and we love it. Tantis were coming through, featuring Tepotsula on that one. Dilinde has become quite the sort of the cultural, the cultural song. It should be archived somewhere in the top 100 songs of South Africa if we ever had such an archive. As we enter the second hour of the show, and I'm joined by a whole new panel of ladies that are joining me now. And we've got Uluthando Madlopa, who is a founder of Madlopa Brand Reputation Management and founder of Bold Woman Network. We've also got Gina Madonsela, who's an award-winning social entrepreneur and founder of Business Runway. And Lerato Pilani also joins us, co-chairperson of the Young Leaders Connect. And this is, of course, the second half of our conversation today. We have, if you just joined us, you know that we have this conversation annually. We invite a panel of incredible female leaders to come through in conversation, and we talk about all kinds of things that pertain to being a woman, really. It's our own way also of taking stock and assessing how far we've come in our respective journeys, as well as some of the things that we're having to deal with on a day-to-day basis as individuals, as well as a collective. And I think when we left it off with just the previous panel of ladies, we were reflecting on the role of women. The role of women in the different spaces that we occupy, and the role of women in society. And I think just to ease us into the conversation, maybe we'll jump straight from that point. And I wonder for you, because I'm just going to pick you because you're right next to me, Lerato. For you, what does that look like as a young woman in 2024? The role that you now play professionally and socially. How has that changed from the roles that your mom and your grandmom and all the matriarchs that came down your lineage have occupied?
Thank you so much, Bridget, and good afternoon, everyone. So, certainly I believe that the role has evolved with time. I think that we should appreciate that as women, we wear many hats and we are multifaceted. And I think that with us, and particularly our generations as millennials, we recognize that, there's so much to us than wanting to be housewives or just moms. We want to be career women, but we also recognize that we are spiritual beings, but we also want to have social lives. And now also with the scourge of also us prioritizing health. So I really think that as women right now, the tide has turned and we want to have it all. And I believe that it is quite possible that we can have it all. You talk about, the lineage, our great-grandparents. I say that, they crawled, they walked, so that our generation can walk. But, run rather. But frankly, I say, let us soar, because these people have gone ahead of us. They've blazed a trail. They've created paths that we can walk that are clear. And so for me, I say the sky is not only the limit, but to infinity and to beyond. And that is really the role of women today.
Ladies, feel free to jump in. We're just keying over some good old H2O in the open spaces of SABC for all to see us. For you, Tina, as you assess the role of women and the role that you now occupy?
Yeah, thank you so much for the invite.
It's a pleasure. Is Tina's mic on?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes. Okay. Let me give you another mic. They're just going to fly in another mic. I think maybe the battery on that one has run down or something. Let's see. Is that one on? Is it on? Let me see. Yes, it is on. It is the, let's take a break while we actually get all of this audio engineering sorted out. Apologies for that disturbance in your ears as you listen to us, but let's take a quick break and then we'll come back on the other side.
The 30th of August 2024 at the SABC in Bloemfontein. The University of the Free State will take on the Central University of Technology in what promises to be a nail-biting debate. The SAFM University Debate Challenge is an independent, non-partisan promo seeking to develop confident communicators, critical thinkers, and empowered global citizens. If you want to attend the debate, you can email info@safm.co.za.
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
SA Women's Struggles Journal. #Women's Month. Celebrating 30 years of democracy towards women's development, SAFM celebrates the power, resilience and brilliance of women. It's Women's Month, and we're honoring the incredible contributions of women in our communities, our workplaces and our homes. Join SAFM in recognizing the achievements, strengths and spirit of women everywhere. Let's uplift and empower each other today and every day.
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Stand by, stand by.
Standing by, Zondo.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
Okay, let's try it again, and hopefully this time the gremlins are out of, they're out of sight. I don't know, maybe it's our aura.
Yeah, I think we're just coming with that energy.
We're coming with it,
But yeah, let's definitely close it off with a bang. I just wanted to echo actually my fellow panelists' sentiments. The landscape of women now, particularly when we talk about business, particularly when we talk about entrepreneurship, has shifted quite a bit. I think we do have a foot in the door, so we are in a kind of post-democratic state where the world is open, there are opportunities. It's just a matter of honestly, if we're just being frank, ladies, right? I almost feel like as much as, we have this nice kumbaya and we talk about, women empowerment and we talk about women occupying space, I almost feel like we are still kind of doing it a little bit in silos, If we think about, women and empowerment events, there are tons of women events, different organizers with basically the same agenda, really, to rally women together, to bring us together for dialogue, to bring us together for, to ask those questions, and to, interrogate the status quo. But I think definitely it has shifted from the time of our mothers and our past generations. It's now up to us to say, how do we actually make an impact and make an impact that is lasting so that we can then pass on to the next generation?
Good afternoon. I'm Latando. Thank you to the audience and thank you, Bridget, and my fellow panelists. So I think the answer to that question for me is it's two-sided, because I can definitely say that for women in corporate, for businesswomen, the needle has shifted. There's been a lot of changes. There's been glass ceilings, many firsts. It's amazing. It's fantastic. We love it, and we're here to see it. But then we have an actual reality that in the townships, in underprivileged areas, women are suffering, and that suffering doesn't seem to stop. It kind of seems to be a continued pattern. And I think I'd say the same for the higher LSM. The difference is just that the one has money, the one doesn't. So the one can hide whatever they're hiding. The one can hide whatever corporate pain it is, with familial pain and issues that they have, versus a woman who doesn't have access to medical aid, who has to constantly be in a clinic or can't even be in the clinic. There are a lot of issues that our grassroots level mamas and sisters are facing that we are actually not talking about. We come here and, like my sister is saying, we have these conversations in silos, but also in these rooms, it's only our corporate sisters and our entrepreneurs. Where's everyone else? And why are we having these conversations on their behalf? And why are we making decisions on their behalf? Did they ask for that? They want to be part of the room. They want to be part of the conversation. But it seems as times get better and as much as we evolve, and we become smarter and we have all these things to us, somehow there's a bit of a lag in our other counterparts, our sisters, and just frankly women in the hood. There's a lag that's not changing, and I think that's the concern for me, because that is the majority of society.
We are leaving women behind. As women, we are leaving women behind, is what I'm hearing you saying. And, I hate to give it to the other gender, but I have to give the point to them. Well, at least one of my listeners who called, I think on Monday, it could have been last weekend, we're having a conversation, between myself and my guest, who was a woman, and it was along the theme of Women's Month and things that affect women. I can't recall what it is exactly, or what it was about exactly we were talking about. And he called in and he said, but you'll talk very much from a lens of being privileged women at executive levels, women with access. I mean, everything that you are speaking to, Lutando, you are women who occupy a particular class in society. And so your lens is tainted by that, as much as you're speaking about issues, but these are issues that may not be relatable, to your point, to a woman who is trying to not break the glass ceiling, not occupy the corner of it, but a woman who's just trying to get by and who's just trying to do the best for herself and her family. So now that we have this awakening, at least amongst the four of us and whoever at home is listening, how do we as women begin to open up the spaces and the conversations so that they are more diverse, towards women, so that there's more of us being represented from different sectors, different spaces, different communities, different social stratas? How do we make sure consciously we move conversations that are held in Sandton and spaces like this and take them to Soweto and Ekurhuleni and Guamashu, but to still to tie in those sort of two lived experiences? I don't know what's going on with our audio now in the second hour, but I'm sure it will come right.
Working. Oh, there we go. So, I think maybe also just reflecting as a segue to your question on the points that my fellow panelists are raising. I do want to say that personally on my side, I don't think that it's all doom and gloom. I think that firstly, as I'm an agent of change, and so no matter what, no matter where, I believe that we have to be intentional on being the change that we want to see, because that is where it all starts. Because as much as we want to say that we can't speak on people's behalf, but the people who are influential and who have the power hold the key to be the ones that effect the change. And so that is why, for example, on our side, in my role as the co-chairperson of Young Leaders Connect Ideal, I say that what are we doing to empower the future and ensure that we develop the next generation of ethical leaders? And Bridget, this is not women that are in corporate South Africa in C-suites. We support young entrepreneurs from Soweto, rural areas. We go to the schools in the townships. We go to the schools everywhere, because that's what we recognize, that is where we need to go, and that is where it starts. And then the other point is about the fact that maybe, yes, there are a lot of organizations and maybe somewhat it's fragmented, but I think it's necessary. We do need these grassroots movements. Maybe a solution could be that this gets consolidated and maybe we have a council of women's.
Perhaps this would be a time for us to take a pause for the headline news, and then we'll come back. Apologies for the audio suddenly acting up. Not too sure what's going on from the floor with our engineers on this side. But let's take a quick pause for the headline news while we also work through some of these kinks, and then we'll come back on the other side and continue.
A very good afternoon. With the news headlines at 2:30, ke Modupi Makgalemele. The bench of the Supreme Court of Appeal has questioned whether former Public Protector Busi Mkhwebane's appeal of the Western Cape High Court judgment will have any practical effect. The EFF in the Free State is calling for the dissolution of the Maluti Apofung and Masilonyana municipalities, and authorities in Mossel Bay in the Western Cape are extremely concerned about the increase in rabies cases amongst the Cape fur seals in the area. And those are your headlines. A full news update.
The SAFM University Debate Challenge is back. Join us for the 1-hour debate on This Week Today with Oliver Dixon from 6 to 7 p.m. on Friday, the 30th of August 2024 at the SABC in Bloemfontein. The University of the Free State will take on the Central University of Technology in what promises to be a nail-biting debate. The SAFM University Debate Challenge is an independent, non-partisan progressive initiative seeking to develop confident communicators, critical thinkers, and empowered global citizens. If you want to attend the debate, you can email info@safm.co.za.
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Okay. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. Oliver Dixon on SAFM.
One has to ask the question, what is the story? What is the city of Johannesburg story? 8 mayors in the last 7-8 years.
You know, the story is a story of a city in crisis that has a multiple level of crisis in terms of a range of service delivery issues. Probably the top of those is a water and electricity crisis that keeps deepening. There's definitely a financial management crisis in the city. Somewhere between the city saying it doesn't have enough money and National Treasury saying that it's not spending enough money. There's clearly a financial management issue that the city is facing. But then there's also just looking at the different entities in the city of Joburg that are underperforming. City Power, Joburg Water, the Joburg Property Agency, and other entities that are simply not delivering on mandate, are riddled with scandals of corruption.
Tessa Dooms. Night Talk, Monday to Thursdays, 10 to midnight. The Chill Zone with Bertha Charuma.
Have you ever had a work romance? How did it work? Did it last? Does it last? Or just jeopardize your working life or career?
Yeah, work wife. I had one at work. Yeah, things didn't go so well. Let's just say I had my house burned down. I lost my wife and kids. Yeah, after that, I never wanted a work wife.
It is frightening. It is actually so frightening. And obviously it's worse because he mentions that he had a wife and kids. He had, a life outside of this relationship that was happening at work.
That's Linda Yendes.
Bertha Charuma, Fridays, 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
All right, let's try it again, and hopefully the radio gods are now with us, or the gods of sound. And we're joined for this second half of our conversation by Uluthando Matlopa and, of course, Gcina Madonsela and Lerato Pilani. I mean, Gcina, you were so rudely interrupted, so if you can jump back on your train of thought, that would be lovely.
Okay, so...
it was Lerato
Lerato was talking.
Yes.
Yeah, please, I do want to finish that thought. So I was saying that maybe an opportunity exists for us to see if we can consolidate these feminist women movement, because I think that's actually what will move us forward to achieve gender equality and equity with impact. But Bridget, maybe then to answer your question and say, how can we take this work to the people and really to the uttermost places of those that are disenfranchised and disadvantaged. So as I was saying, at Young Leaders Connect, we do exactly that. I mean, you know, our program that is really mandated by the International Women's Forum of South Africa. We've got over 1,000 women that will go through a leadership development program from all walks of life, not necessarily those that are in the C-suites, in the Centene, from wherever you are. If you're studying, if you're an accountant, if you are in finance, financial services, you get into this program, you get capacitated, you are equipped for leadership. A lot of the women have actually even moved up the ranks and gotten promotions. I mean, with our leadership summit and awards that we are hosting, everybody is invited. This is sponsored for us by Standard Bank, and we're saying, come and empower yourself. Let's talk about the role of women in leadership. Let's talk about the just energy transition. Let's talk about the role of youth in leadership. Let's actually talk about the township economy, because we recognize that this is an untapped part of the economy. And untapped, I mean by us as Black people. And we are actually the majority of the spenders of this. And so we're saying, how do we really move beyond the secular lens of the economy and saying there's so much money and that can be tapped into the township economy. So really just to give you a sense that these movements are working and they're actually having an impact in society, regardless of where you might be.
Gina, this is a good segue for you in the work that you do.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So I'm of the view that how we begin to kind of have these conversations with the right people at the right places for maximum impact, it all starts with us individuals, right? And you did mention this, Lerato, in your talk as well. I honestly feel like we need to start having these conversations and being real about the fact that, ladies, if we are to say, let's occupy space, let's go out there, bring each other up, we need to be prepared to talk about the fact that if we want to make it in this life, we need to work hard. There is hard work involved, and there's nobody that's going to come and hand you anything. I think we almost are falling into a little bit of a trap where we're thinking, somebody must go before me, open the door, and let me in. And the reality of the situation is that even if I have worked hard, gotten through that door, and I'm on the other side, there are still more doors to open. So as much as I need to open a door for people coming after me, there are things on every single level that I need to there are barriers on every single level that I need to break as a woman. And what it would really take is the individual woman to make up their mind to say, I am not going to be, oh, shame, sorry, Uqina, she needs, let me help Uqina. We need to kind of have an inward out approach to say, what do I do in my space where I am right now to add value, to gain experience, and then be able to move to the next level. It's not going to be, oh, we're going to just jump and then I'm going to all of a sudden wake up as a manager or a CEO of a bank institution, for example. There are steps for me to take. If it's education I need to get, let me go back to school, get my education right, move to the next step. If it's experience that I need to get, let me do the work, do the hours. And I almost feel like this is conversations we're not having enough, where we almost think like, oh, men must put us in and squeeze us in. No, we don't need to be squeezed in. Let us build those buildings so that we can occupy those buildings, So I think that's definitely my view to say, ladies, if we can just have these conversations within our homes, it starts with our children, if we do have children, it starts within the family, in the office space, wherever you are. If you have an opportunity to talk to another woman, rather make it a conversation that's of value, that will remind them that, listen, the power is within you and you need to make an impact in the space that you're in order to be considered for the next level or the next space.
Does that not, if I'm to play devil's advocate for a slight second, does that not also, and I mean, I get the sentiment, right? You need to be prepared for the role that you want, or you need to show up in the manner in which you want to be addressed, in the direction that you want to sort of grow, right? So I get it from that perspective. And then if I'm to play devil's advocate, there's also the conversation that women have, particularly women of a younger generation, when they sort of converse with older generation women, and they go, but you ladies are almost content with not necessarily not giving me the key to unlock the door, but once you've gotten in, you also don't make it easier for the ones that come behind. You almost create a barrier and an obstacle in yourself, whereas you should be an ally versus now something else that I need to be fighting in order for me to get to the next level.
But Bridget, you see, you speaking about it hypothetically.
Did you hear me calculate my words?
Yeah, and I can tell the tone as well. You slow down there. But the truth of the matter is, I think, and I don't know. That's why I'm saying you obviously are playing devil's advocate, which I understand. But I think, in my experience, I've met a lot of phenomenal women. Women that are willing to open the door. And I'd like to think even us sitting on this panel are quite open-minded and realize that it's not just going to take uqina. It's going to take collective effort. And as where I stand now, and having obviously, come from, an industry where I'm helping other small businesses, female-owned businesses to kind of, get the steps right to grow their business, we have to have a willing, it's like we also want mentorship, but we're not ready to give ourselves. You know what I mean? Because in a mentor and a mentee relationship, it's not just the mentor who shares information based on the journey and experience. The mentee also brings something to the table, and that's what we have to realize, is that bring something to the table, you need to almost be cognizant of, and intentional about how you go about, occupying spaces, where and how you add value, and wherever you are, be able to deliver those results. I'm very skeptical and worried when we say women are not wanting to open doors. We do want to open doors. We do want other women to come in. We do want to occupy the spaces. We just need to kind of frame it differently and say, all right, if you can have whatever you want. You can literally have whatever you want. You just need to put in the work. I think that's my view.
So I agree with both my panelists, Ularato and Oqina, with what they say.
Lutando, do you want to put your mic all the way close to you?
Oh, thank you so much. I was saying I agree with Oqina and Ularato, and particularly with what they're saying, but also especially, when it comes to understanding yourself, understanding time, understanding season, understanding that you are not going to go to university or to a TVET today and come out tomorrow qualified, and then the next day you're a CA or you're an attorney, and then the next day, it doesn't happen like that. Things don't happen in 5-year plans the way we think. And I think when we understand, yes, we have our own vision, but there's also God's vision for our lives, right? And then things will happen. And when we understand the being able to come back from whatever situation, or whatever hiccup that might have, slowed you down when you thought, no, I'd be graduated by now, I'd have this and this and this. It doesn't always work out like that. And we really need to understand where we are in life, and then submit to that, submit to your situation, submit to your circumstance. Because I think a lot of the times what young women do is that they see something, they see a position, and they're like, I want that. And then they don't consult with God if that's the right thing to want. And then sometimes you get paired up with incorrect mentors, because not every successful woman is supposed to be a mentor. And it's not a bad thing. It's like not everyone aligns, not everyone, some people just clash naturally. And then we fall into these other relationships. Sometimes now you are doing things out of the fact that you must do this to achieve what you want to do, rather than it's what you ought to be doing. So now you're doing things that you're not born to do. You're doing things because, hey, if I do this career, if I go in this organization, if I move this way, and if I move with these certain people, I will then acclimatize quickly. But it's not like that. We really need to sit down and understand ourselves intrinsically, understand our journeys, our flaws, and just understand competence and understand excellence. So in order for us to be excellent, we need to be competent. And those things are like practice things, like daily things. You don't just wake up one day and you're competent. You don't just wake up one day and you're excellent. And that's another problem that we have as young people, just as women, is that because we sometimes lack competence, we don't like talking about this because it's a bit sore, I think. And also having to realize, which I went through so many years of varsity, and maybe in this particular area of something, I'm competent that much. And then, you beat yourself up about it instead of actually going to the next person saying, hi, can you please assist me with A, B, C, D, F, G? And now, because of now the lack of competence, we have lack of confidence. And now we have lack of confidence, we do this thing that now we're all talking about, where we close doors off for other people. And that's the problem.
Sure. That's a lot. And I mean, the point of, for instance, competence breeding excellence, I think when you said it, it sparked the thought in my mind when there's this debate about black-owned businesses and female-led and female-owned businesses. And sometimes when I sort of put on the antagonist hat and I go, that's great, and it's a wonderful sentiment to have because it affects real change. However, you're not just competing with women, right? You're competing with men. You're competing in an open market globally. And so it's not enough for anybody to just support you on the primary basis of you being black or you being female, or female of whatever other race. But you've got to lead with the excellence first. And then the cherry on the top is that, oh yeah, and then I choose her because it's her, but she can stand shoulder to shoulder with the very best in that sector or in that service. It just makes it even sweeter, the fact that she's a female and she puts on her bra the same way that I do. And I think that's the other part of the conversation that you say we're not having, right? As we talk about how do we support even ourselves at community level? How do we build leaders at community level? How do we build women who are meant to lead in the future? It's the emphasis of you're not just competing with women or you're not just attracting women. Yeah. It's just business, they say. I mean, I feel like Lerato wants to go and men gangan.
I don't know. I mean, I think I agree with them, but my view is always optimism. I echo the sentiment that, competence gives you confidence, 100,000%. And I want to echo you as well, Gina, to say that, when people give you opportunities or this issue that maybe people close doors, the thing is, Bridget, sometimes people have been banned because sometimes you recommend somebody and people drop balls and people don't show up at excellence and people are just thinking that, we are here to play. And then people take a stance of saying that actually maybe I'm not going to be mentioning people's names. So that is another aspect of it. And so I 100,000% agree that there is absolutely no substitute for hard work. Nobody wakes up and they are thrown in there and they are the chairperson and they are the CEO. This is the culmination of many, many years of hard work, dedication, perseverance. And so I agree with you, ladies, to say when we are building our journey and also aspiring to whatever it is that we are pursuing, we need to make sure that we firstly get the knowledge, whether it's through studying or whatever basis that we mean, because it's true, the future belongs to those who are willing to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And then when you've done that, what are some of the skills that you need that will enable you to be able to take up those opportunities when they arise? And then the next thing that follows is about who do you know, because your network also is your network. And so you need those people who will be able to mention your name in rooms full of opportunities. But also people are not going to put their relationship currency behind you if they don't know that you are, your word is your bond, you are trustworthy, you will show up. So it is important that we also foster relationships with people. You need to make an effort to really build long and lasting relationships where people will be able to say, when they say Lerato, they know that Lerato is not going to drop the ball and Lerato will show up at excellence. And what that then adds up to is the reputation. And then that is your point, Bridget, then to say, when you do that, no matter where, no matter what, pound for pound, you can compete against the best in the world, but your work will speak for itself and it will be excellence. But beyond that, because of all those elements, you will surely succeed. Thanks.
I used to have, in sort of my previous space, we had an MD who very much believed in it starts at home, right? And he would say in home in the context of the brand and the organization that I was with at the time over those years. And he'd say, but here's the difference, is that even at the level of MD, when I cross the street to answer to the board members, why have you hired Gina, who is Bridget's cousin? And, why have you hired Ulutando, who's Lerato's niece, in these various, he'll go, but are they not delivering at the highest standards and at the highest levels? And so if we are to employ the, kuqale ekhaya, umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu, it takes a village, we start at home. And if we can't find the excellence here, then we go outside. But we have to be able to stand at that board level and say, but it's working because look at what we are producing. Look at the results. Look at the quality of people. Yeah, I'm nepotistic like that also.
I mean, and Bridget, it's not a bad thing. I mean, we've been taught to kind of shy away from nepotism. We've been programmed to think, oh my gosh, if I recommend my sister for a particular role at my work, we might seem like we are, skinning against the boss or whatever. I think we need to start being comfortable with the fact that results. Let's talk about results. For me, it's like, what are you doing where you are? How are you adding value? I don't think any of us ladies would have been invited to this particular panel if we were not adding value in whatever spaces that we're in. So it starts with where you are. We can't hope to have this global conversation about women empowerment and, a woman in a post-democratic society, but we're saying, well, we're all shying away from this, the topic at hand that says, what are you bringing to the table? And if you're not bringing anything to the table, you better be in your boots making sure you're building that table, I think that's just me. I'm just absolutely passionate. I really believe in us as women. And we do obviously have our own challenges. There's, when you get into a room, then you want to talk about, oh my gosh, what's the work-life balance? Baby, there is no work-life balance. You wake up at 4:30, you grind, you go to the gym, you read your book, you go to work. By 4, you are back home, you are in the gym. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's all that it is. And we need to just kind of get ourselves into the habit of being real about it, that it's just not going to happen for you,
What a sobering sentiment, Tina, because, okay, I've always believed that women, and we're in our final moments, I've always believed that women can have it all, perhaps not all at the same time. Because you can't keep to your point, that your balls can't all be in the air as suspended. Something's going to drop because you only have so many hands. But it's also a bit of an unfair expectation, right? And I've been challenging my thinking in recent years. Like when I sit in conversation with particular women and I go, well, how do you balance it? And I catch myself every time because I've been conscientized to the fact that somehow I give men allowance not to balance it all. I never pose that question to men. How do you balance it all? Because I almost expect that there is Ulutando at home catching majority of the balls, but it's unfair. And we need to start challenging that for the unfairness of it all that it puts on women.
It goes back to that bread and roses conversation that we had on the 1st of August, and that this fight for gender equity and equality, literally, it is about the paper, it is about the goods, but also it is about the roses, the dignity, the pride, the softness that we deserve. And you're completely right. It really, really is unfair that we can't actually ask men those questions. But it's a question that, is always asked from women, how do you balance? Because at home there is always somebody. And that person I don't think is really receiving roses. Very few women do. And I think it's high time that as a society, we just, part of the conversations that we're having as well, just to unsocialize ourselves, because we've been socialized to do things a certain way and think a certain way. We need to just unsocialize ourselves and also start telling truths and also just really getting to the crux of the matter of how hard work actually is. I think a lot of the times people see my post on Instagram and LinkedIn, and especially, we are LinkedIners. So people, you will see our LinkedIn post, I was at this event, I was at this person with this person. It takes years, guys, to get there. It takes years to build those relationships. These things don't happen overnight. And even to get 500 people who are connecting with you. Because remember, yes, there's the follow thing on LinkedIn, but it's those connections that we're making. It takes time to foster those relationships so people take you seriously. And to what both my panelists have said, hard work is so important, it's paramount. No one's going to give you anything. You need to just, do you want it? Go get it. If I phone it,
And I think we'll wrap it up there. On that very sobering note, that is how we end the conversation. So that is the last bite. Do you want it? If you want it, go get it. If not, leave it to someone else. Ladies, I appreciate y'all for taking the time to come through and have this conversation with us. It was Luthando Matlopa, who's the founder of Matlopa Brand Reputation Management, and of course, a founder of Bold Woman Network. Tina Madonsela is an award-winning social entrepreneur and the founder of Business Runway, and Lerato Pilani, who's the co-chairperson of the Young Leaders Connect. From myself and my team, thank you for live streaming with us on this what is now an annual Women's Month wrap-up dialogue. We will see you again, I guess, in 2025, but the conversations continue between now and then on the Full Circle every single day between 1 and 3 o'clock. Ashraf and his team are standing by to take over from us here. Inshallah, God willing, we get to do it again tomorrow.
Heba on a fresh reality series that showcases the business behind being a business. Get to experience an intimate look at my life with family, personal growth, and my mission to uplift young women. Jet with me as we prepare to crown a lucky chaser. Be grounded, be entertained, and be dazzled. Monday, 6 p.m. on S3, it's a date with you and B. Catch Bedazzled by Bonang on S3 every Monday at 6 p.m.
Northwest Provincial Legislature's Portfolio Committee on Premier and Finance will conduct public hearings on Northwest Youth Entrepreneurship Service Fund Act Repeal Bill 2023 on 30 August 2024 at Madibuho Community Hall in Madibuho, Trim Park Hall in Potchefstroom, Ipelege Multipurpose Center in Schweizer-Reneke, and Mokwase Sports Ground Park Zone 1 in Mokwase at 10 o'clock. The bill aims to provide for the repeal of the Northwest Youth Entrepreneurship Service Fund Act 2016. Act number 6 of 2016 and provide for matters connected therewith.
Need a loan? Pay for what you need when you need it with a personal loan from Nedbank. And if you open a My Goals Plus or My Goals Premium account, you could enjoy 200 Rand cash back every month for the duration of your loan. That's 200 Rand every month to buy extra groceries or save for a rainy day. Visit nedbank.co.za and join the bank that's best for your loans. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Everyone is just as important as you are. Stop gender-based violence. Treat others the way you want to be treated. No one deserves any form of violence. Report gender-based violence. Contact Lifeline South Africa toll-free number on your mobile phone. Call or WhatsApp 0800 150 150. That's 0800 150 150. Lifeline South Africa. Mental and emotional health for all. This is an SABC-supported initiative.
I'm Michelle Constant. Join the JSB crew and I every Saturday and Sunday morning between 7 and 10 a.m. We promise to keep you informed and entertained with innovation, culture, cars, travel, life learnings, environment, and of course, your big fat juicy. Small stories, big ideas, massive inspiration. The Jet Set Breakfast on SAFM.
The top stories at 3 o'clock: plans to remove South Africa from the financial grey list and concerns over rabies increases in the Western Cape. A very good afternoon. President Cyril Ramaphosa says the government